Champions Cup gets back underway this weekend, and it is, man, it's been ages, but it's a quarterfinal between Leinster and Saracens. On paper, it's first against eighth, so the top qualifier against the last qualifier, the last team to make it through. Leinster went 6 from 6 in their pool. They had Saints, Leon, and Benetton in pool 1. They finished top, 6 from 6, and Saracens went second in their pool, which had Munster, Racing 92, and the Ospreys. Now that's on paper. So on paper it's first against eighth, but realistically this is a rematch of the two teams who found each other in the final last year. And Saracens got the job done 20 points to 10 in that one. So there's quite a lot on the line for this game. If you look at last week's Pro 14 final, the fact that like Sexton and McGrath were on the bench maybe indicates this is a game that they were hanging up for a bit more. And for Saracens, with relegation already confirmed for them, this is kind of their only meaningful game on the immediate horizon. So yeah, I'll go through the lineups pretty quickly and then talk about the odds, who is being favoured to win this one. Before looking at the lineups, I was pretty certain that Saracens, with all the guys that I've seen leaving and going on loan and whatnot, would be fielding not the best team. But to be fair, on paper, it still stacks up pretty well. I think it may be the benches that are the difference in this one, but we will see. For Leinster, it's a pretty similar lineup to that final last week. Healy, Cronin, and Porter are the front row, so Cronin maybe steps in to try and help out with the lineout a bit. Kelleher's on the bench. The lineout hasn't been that successful. It was better second half for Leinster last week. Cronin's often got a bit of stick in his career for his lineout not being kind of optimal. But you got Devon Toner there, so basically just throw the ball to him, man. You should be getting it pretty securely. James Ryan is alongside him, so it's a pretty darn good lock-in duo. Doris, Connors, and Conan are the rest of the back row, which means somehow Josh van der Vliet is on the bench. Maybe they're looking to add a bit of impact, or maybe he's just exhausted after all that bloody running he did last week. He was making Ulster's job an absolute nightmare. It's one of those ones where you look at his stats and think, didn't do him justice, because I think he had like 9 from 9 tackles, but he was just everywhere in that game last week. Anyway, he'll bring some impact from the bench. The backs, McGrath and Sexton, are 9 and 10, so they get a start after sitting on the bench last week. So Jameson, Gibson Park, and Ross Byrne swap places with them to ride the pine. Henshaw and Ringrose are still in the midfield. Keenan and Lowe are still the wingers, and Lama is still there at fullback. This will be a good test for Lama, I guess, at the back, because there's still question marks about his ability to take a high ball and just be secure at the back. I think he's looked better this year than he has in like maybe 2018. Development of the player, so this will be a good test for him though still. For Saracens, so you've still got Vunipola, George, and Koch in the front row, which is a pretty bloody good front row. So that's like an international matchup against the Leinster front row. Itoje and Swinson are the second row, with Rhodes, Ray, and Billy Vunipola making up the rest of the back row. So there's a lot of talent in both these sides, you'd have to say. Wigglesworth and Good are your 19 combo. Remember, Owen Farrell is suspended for this one. That crazy tackle in that game against Wasps sees him miss this game, which is, I mean, it's such a pity in terms of just getting to see Sexton up against Farrell. It's another one of those kind of international matchups that you want to see. You want to see the best players out there, but if you're going to do crazy tackles, you are going to get suspended. So that is what it is. So Alex Good moves into the 10 jersey. Brad Barrett's captain at 12, and Duncan Taylor is there at 13. So it's again international midfield. Lewington and Maitland are your wingers, with Elliot Daly there at fullback. Pretty useful guy to bring into the 15 jersey if Good's going to play 10. Manu Vunipola on the bench. Ella Davis is on the bench. Barrington, and so on. So if you look back to last year's final, there are quite a few changes. You'd have to say more changes for Saracens. Liam Williams has gone back to Scarlets. Will Skelton's gone to France. Lamosatelli's gone to France. Lazowski's on loan in France. Ben Smith has gone to Bath. So there's been a bit of a clear out. more so in that starting 15 from Saracens than from Leinster. Leinster, I think Rob Kearney was at the back in that game last year. He's still there. He's just doesn't really get a start anymore. Sean O'Brien's obviously left. Vardy's dropped out of the match day 23. And Furlong, I think, is still on the way back from injury. But, yeah, you would have to say the Saracens team, especially with Farrell being out, is probably a bit more changed. And I look at that bench and think maybe that's going to be the difference in this one. You can bring on Ryan Baird, you can bring on Josh van der Fleer, Ross Byrne, who would start for most teams and whatnot. So, but we will see. We will see. In terms of the predictions, the bookies over here in New Zealand have got Leinster winning it by 10 points at home. Leinster are hard to beat. They're hard to beat away from home. They're hard to beat everywhere, but especially at home. And Rugby Forecast online algorithm also has Leinster, but only by 4 points. So, yeah. You would have to say if Saracens are going to get up for a game, it will be this one. So Leinster won't be able to not be at 100%. I've read some comments saying that in the Pro 14, maybe you can get away with being not on form here, there, and everywhere, but maybe not so against Saracens. We will see, man. It's not much of a reward to go through all of your pool games unbeaten, go top qualifier, and then get rewarded with Saracens. But it's still going to be a hell of a clash. And given that these are last year's finalists, that adds a bit of spice to this one. So, yeah. You guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How do you think it's going to go? Do you think that Leinster juggernaut just keeps on trucking along? Or do you think with that fact that essentially it's their last meaningful game, do you think Saracens will have a bit more bite about them and able to get one over? The game is on at like 2 a.m. over here in New Zealand. So I'm going to be in bed, but I will shut myself off from all social media and pretty much first thing in the morning get up and watch this one because 2 a.m. is tough. But yeah, no Twitter, no Facebook, no YouTube, no spoilers, hopefully. All right, guys, you let me know your thoughts on this one. How do you see this one going? And I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.